You don't forget the sound of someone snapping their fingers at a flight attendant like they're summoning a pet. And you definitely don't forget it when that same finger is aimed at your mom's first-class seat like it's already theirs by divine right. At first, I thought it would be one of those short, painfully awkward moments that passes with forced smiles and muttered apologies. Then she said one sentence, just one, that sucked the air out of the entire cabin. That's when it clicked for me. This wasn't simple rudeness. This was a deliberate power move. We were flying out for my mom's long overdue break. She's the type of woman who says, sorry, when someone else steps on her foot. So when she surprised me by booking first class for both of us, I actually laughed and asked if she pulled off a bank heist. She didn't laugh back. She didn't even smile. She just said, I want one trip where I don't feel guilty for resting. That sentence landed harder than I expected. My mom has spent her entire life carrying everyone else. My dad walked out years ago. My younger siblings still treat her like a 24/7 customer support line. She works double shifts without ever complaining. So no first class wasn't indulgent. It was medicine. We boarded early and settled in, and for the first time in forever, I saw her shoulders relax. She tested the seat controls carefully, like she didn't trust them to actually work for her. When the attendant offered sparkling water, my mom hesitated, glanced at me like she needed permission to enjoy it, then quietly nodded. That's when the woman showed up. You know the type the instant you see them. Perfectly styled hair that's never known humidity. A massive tote bag carried like a weapon. A face already irritated by the existence of other people. She looked to be in her mid-50s, dressed like she was on her way to a business casual courtroom appearance. She marched into first class with two people trailing behind her, both around her age, dragging their carry-ons like prisoners headed to sentencing. She stopped right beside our row and locked her eyes on my mom's seat. Not a glance, a stare. Then she looked at my mom, then the seat number, then back at my mom, like she'd crawled in through the luggage compartment. My mom offered a polite smile. Hi. The woman didn't respond. She leaned closer, squinted at the screen on the armrest, and said loud enough for the row behind us to hear, yeah, no, this isn't right. I blinked. Excuse me. She finally acknowledged me, like I'd interrupted something important. These seats are supposed to be together. My mom's smile faltered, but she stayed calm. They are. My son and I are together. The woman's nostrils flared like I'd insulted her entire bloodline. Not you, us. She gestured dramatically behind her, as if unveiling a royal procession. Then came the first small twist. She pulled out her phone and shoved it toward my mom, not the flight attendant, not a gate agent. My mom. Like my mom was personally in charge of airline operations. See, she said, tapping the screen aggressively. I have friends. We're traveling together. We need first class. My friends have anxiety. One of the friends gave a tiny, helpless shrug, clearly broadcasting. Please don't drag me into this. My mom opened her mouth, then closed it. I could see the instinct kick and the urge to apologize, to be accommodating, even when someone is being unreasonable. That's when I stepped in. Ma'am, those are our assigned seats. Her eyes narrowed, and she did that tight, humorless smile. Sweetie, I'm not asking. I'm explaining what's about to happen. My mom stiffened. I saw it immediately. Her shoulders crept back up, stress flooding in like someone flipped a switch. Right then, the flight attendant arrived, voice upbeat, smile professional. Hi, can I help you find your seat? The woman snapped her fingers. Snapped. Like the attendant was late bringing her a drink menu. Yes, she said. You can. These seats need to be reassigned. My friends and I should be in first class together. I don't understand why random people are sitting here. Random people. My mom blinked like she'd been slapped. I watched the color drain from her face. Hurt first, then embarrassment, then that familiar reflex to make herself smaller. The attendant's smile stayed in place, but it tightened. Ma'am, seats are assigned. If you're having a seating issue, I can check your boarding pass. The woman didn't hand anything over. She crossed her arms instead. No, you can check theirs. My friends have a medical situation, and you're not going to separate us. Second small twist. The words medical situation were delivered in the exact tone people use when they don't want follow-up questions. My mom quietly reached for her bag, already preparing to move because she always does. Because peace has always mattered more to her than fairness. I gently caught her wrist under the blanket so the woman couldn't see. Just a small squeeze. Not this time, the attendant repeated, still calm. I'll need to see your boarding pass. The woman scoffed. Unbelievable. You people always make this difficult. This is why I hate flying with. She stopped herself mid-sentence, clearly realizing she was about to say something that would land her in serious trouble, and quickly pivoted. Look, my friends are good people. They deserve comfort. Then she pointed at my mom. She looks like she'd be just fine back there. My mom's eyes went glossy for just a split second. She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It's okay. I cut in, firm but steady. It's not okay. She paid for this. The woman turned fully toward me, offended. Excuse me, do you know who I am? I almost laughed, because, of course, she said that. No, I replied, and I don't think the plane cares. The attendant took a small step closer, her voice dropping into that calm, warning tone. Ma'am, you need to take your assigned seat so we can close the cabin door. That should have ended it. It didn't. The woman leaned toward the attendant and announced, loud and proud, if you don't fix this, I'm filing a complaint with the airline and the airport authority. I'm on an HOA board. I know how this works. Third small twist. She genuinely believed that carried weight at 30,000 feet. People were watching now. A man across the aisle froze mid-sip. Someone behind us slid their headphones down. The mood shifted from mild annoyance to full attention. Oh, wow, she's serious. The attendant nodded once, like a decision had been made. Okay, I'm going to resolve this. The woman smirked, already convinced she'd won. She looked at my mom and said in a syrupy, fake voice, don't worry, you'll survive in economy. My mom's hands were shaking. Mine were clenched into fists. The attendant walked toward the front of the cabin, and that's when the woman did the most shocking thing yet. She dropped into the seat directly in front of my mom, twisted around, and said to her friends, just stand here. They'll move them in a second. Like we were furniture. Like the outcome was already decided. My mom whispered, barely audible. Me, we should just. I shook my head. No, sit, breathe. Something told me the crew wasn't walking away to fix this the way Karen thought they were, and when the attendant came back, she wasn't alone. She returned with the lead crew member, and the entire energy in first class shifted instantly. The friendly tone was gone. This was the voice reserved for people who had crossed an invisible line and didn't realize it yet. Ma'am, the lead attendant said, calm but firm. You need to stand up and move to your assigned seat immediately. Karen laughed. Actually laughed. Short, confident, like someone who's never been told no and assumes this is all just performance. Oh good, she said, waving a hand. You brought backup. That'll make this faster. Just move them so my friends can sit. One friend suddenly became very interested in the floor. The other stared straight ahead like she hoped to dissolve into the carpet. The lead attendant didn't raise her voice. Somehow, that made it worse. Those passengers are seated in their assigned first-class seats. You are not, Karen smiled. A twitchy little thing. There's been a misunderstanding. No, there hasn't. You could feel the tension ripple through the cabin. My mom sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, like she was trying not to exist. I hated that most of all. Not Karen's voice. Not the entitlement. But how small. My mom looked again. After just 20 minutes of peace, Karen leaned back into the seat. She'd taken. Listen, my friends and I were separated because of a booking error. We're not sitting in basic economy. I didn't pay all this money to be treated like this. The lead attendant tilted her head slightly. You paid for 3 basic economy tickets. That was the first real crack. Karen's eyes widened for half a second before she recovered. That's not the point. What matters is customer service. And good customer service fixes mistakes. There was no mistake, the attendant replied. You selected those seats. Karen's voice rose. I selected them because there were no first-class seats left. Exactly. People started murmuring. Someone behind us whispered, Oh wow, other passenger shook his head openly. Karen noticed. She straightened, squared her shoulders, and switched tactics. My friend here, she said, grabbing one woman's arm without asking, has severe anxiety. She can't sit in cramped spaces. Are you really going to discriminate against a medical condition? The friend froze. I didn't say, the lead attendant cut in smoothly. If there is a medical need, we can involve our accessibility team. That does not include removing other passengers from their paid seats. Karen slammed her palm onto the armrest. Unbelievable. This airline has gone downhill. I know how to escalate this. Then she turned directly to my mom, and my stomach dropped. You, she said sharply, you don't need this seat. Look at you. You're fine. You should do the decent thing and move. My mom's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes filled just enough that anyone paying attention could see it. Something inside me snapped. She worked 60-hour weeks for 20 years. She paid for this seat. You don't get to decide what she deserves, Karen scoffed. Drama. This generation is so emotional. The lead attendant stepped slightly between us, protective without being obvious. Ma'am, this conversation is over. You will stand up now. Karen crossed her arms. No, that single word sucked the air out of the cabin. No, the attendant repeated. No, Karen said again louder. I'm not moving until this is handled properly. Call whoever you need to call. Mini twist. The attendant nodded once. Okay, Karen smirked. Absolutely convinced this was her victory lap. The attendant turned away, not toward the cockpit like Karen clearly expected, but toward the phone mounted near the galley. She spoke quietly, professionally. I couldn't hear the words, but I could see the change. As the seconds stretched into minutes, Karen's confidence began to flicker. Her friends shifted their weight. One leaned in and whispered, maybe we should just go sit down. Karen snapped back under her breath. Do not sit. This is about principle. By now, passengers weren't pretending anymore. Heads were turned. Eyes were fixed. Phones stayed tucked away. Airplanes don't mess around with that, but everyone was watching. This wasn't a private disagreement. It had become a live performance. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're resolving a seating issue. Karen beamed, like that announcement alone proved she mattered. The lead attendant returned, posture calm, voice steady. Ma'am, you have two options. You can move to your assigned seat now, or you can be removed from the aircraft. Gasps. Actual, audible gasps. Karen shot to her feet. You would kick me off this plane? Yes, the attendant replied. For refusing crew instructions, Karen spun, scanning the cabin for backup. None came. Her friends looked panicked. The audience she thought she controlled was no longer on her side. She pointed at my mom again. You, she snapped. All this over her? The lead attendant didn't even look in my mom's direction. This is about your behavior. Karen's face flushed red. Fine, I'll move. But I want compensation. I want names. I want a full report. Of course, the attendant said pleasantly. Follow me. Karen grabbed her bag, muttering loudly about lawsuits and disrespect. As she passed my mom, she leaned in and hissed. Enjoy it while it lasts. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. Instead of stopping at economy, the crew guided Karen and her friends past row after row all the way to the very back of the plane. Karen stopped dead when she realized where she was being taken. No, she said sharply, planting her feet in the aisle. That's not my row. The lead attendant didn't hesitate. It is now. The cabin went silent except for the low hum of the aircraft. Everyone could see it. The last row. Narrow seats. No, recline. Right next to the bathroom. The exact opposite of first class. The exact opposite of what Karen believed she deserved. Her friends looked horrified. Wait, one whispered. We're back here? Karen spun around. This is ridiculous. You said I could move to my assigned seat. Yes, the attendant replied evenly. And due to your behavior, your assigned seats have been changed. Karen laughed again, but this time, it cracked. You can't do that. We can, the attendant said. And we did. Then came the real twist. The one Karen never saw coming. "Ma'am," the attendant continued, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear, "you were flagged during boarding for attempting to pressure another passenger into surrendering a paid first-class seat. That violates our conduct policy." Karen's face drained of color, and, the attendant added, "this is not your first incident." A ripple moved through the cabin. My eyebrows shot up. My mom looked at me, confused. Karen stammered, "That's not, you attempted the same behavior on your last flight," the attendant said calmly. "It's documented." Today confirmed a pattern. Her friends stared at her now, not with loyalty, but disbelief. "You said this never happened before," one whispered. Karen ignored her. "I want to speak to the captain." "You won't," the attendant replied. "You'll take your seat, or you'll be removed entirely." For the first time since this began, Karen had nothing to say. She slumped into the middle seat of the back row, crushed between her friends, knees pressed into the seat ahead of her. One friend muttered under her breath, "I can't believe this." Not at Karen, but at the crew. As the attendant turned to leave, Karen called out weakly, bitterly, "This isn't over." The attendant paused, looked back, and said something I'll never forget. "It is for today." She walked forward past economy, past comfort, plus back into first class. Back to us. "I'm very sorry about that," she said to my mom, her voice gentle again. "Thank you for your patience." My mom nodded, still a little stunned. "Thank you." The attendant leaned in slightly, "And for the record, you did nothing wrong." As she walked away, the man across the aisle gave my mom a thumbs up. Someone behind us whispered, "Good for you." The cabin exhaled as one. My mom sat quietly for a moment, then let out a soft, disbelieving laugh. I thought she might cry. I squeezed her hand. "You almost did," she said, smiling. "But I didn't. I stayed." She reached for the sparkling water again, this time without hesitation. When we landed, we passed Karen on the way out. She wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Her hair was messy. Now, the confidence was gone. One of her friends walked several steps ahead of her. As we stepped into the jet bridge, my mom slowed, looked back at the plane, and said something small but powerful. "I think that was the first time I didn't give something up just to keep the peace." I smiled. "First class lesson," I said, "and this time," she smiled back. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring you even more dramatic and satisfying HOA stories. Don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss an upload. I'll see you in the next one where justice hits even harder.